we'll get started. Good evening. I'm Ted Bratney. I'm the town chair here in the town of Oakland. We've got Supervisor DeGidio and Supervisor Graffin with us. And we're here to kind of introduce to you the Park Road project. You've all been hearing for lots of years, it's going to happen, maybe. And so now we're pretty far down the road. At least we've got one hell of a great picture of it. Anyway, so we're going to turn this over to our engineering firm, Jewell and Associates, Nathan and Chloe. They're going to explain the process that we're going to go through, and then they'll be open to questions. Did you want them to write questions out, or if they're afraid, they can write a question out and we'll answer it later, or you'd rather have them orally?
There's any way you want to ask a
Okay.
question works. There's a comment form that's available to be mailed in, or you can leave it with us if you want to take it home and write out later. That's fine. You can email us. There's contact information on all the handouts. Also, my business card is back there if you want to grab that, take it with. You can call me.
Okay,
You
sounds
can
like
call
you can do
your
whatever you
local
want to.
elected.
Good, go ahead. Just do it, Nathan.
Are we good to go?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
good to go.
Great. Well, thank you all for coming to learn a little bit more about the Park Road project. I assume all of you know where it is, are aware of the general condition of the road, and a little bit about the road. But we're going to just talk through what is going to be happening with the road, what you can expect in the coming months and during construction next year. So I do apologize that the lighting just does not cooperate that well with the presentation, but we're going to go over the project location, which I assume everyone knows why we're doing the project, the purpose and need for the project, what we're actually going to do to improve the project or improve the road, the construction schedule, and some of the details of what you can expect in terms of impacts to the road that runs in front of your house or that you use probably on a daily basis. Then we'll go over the schedule and next steps for the project. So the Park Road itself that we are going to be working on and discussing tonight is about 3/4 of a mile long, running from US 12 to US 18 on the west side of Lake Ripley. So some of the things that you are adjacent to it are the Lake Ripley Cemetery, the Ripley Park, and the high school is very close to it too, and it's used for a lot of people that live probably on Lake Ripley or for other local uses. So the road itself right now has two 11-foot lanes. The right-of-way is 50 feet wide, so a fairly narrow right-of-way to work with. It was last improved in 2006. I'm not exactly sure what that improvement was, but I think it was probably like a chip seal slurries type project. And the last time it was rated, that pavement was rated as poor, so there's probably a lot of distresses that you've noticed on the pavement. Some of the things that we are going to be improve, or the existing shoulder, I should say, is also narrow. We say that it's 2 feet, but there's a lot of places out there when there's no real discernible shoulder where it's just asphalt and grass adjacent to it, or maybe some areas where people have run off the road and sort of created a war spot in the grass that is adjacent to it. So we'll talk a little bit more about those as we get going here. Another thing that will be improved, there's going to be ditching that's going to be more defined through the project, and all the culverts will be replaced. So that's drainage culverts that are running underneath the driveways, whatever cross culverts there are, or storm sewer systems that are in place, those will all be replaced as well. With one exception, there's a pipe on the north or the south end of the project that we're not touching. It's a mystery to me where it goes, so and it seems to be functioning well. So that will not be part of this project. So let's talk a little bit about. I think I might have hit twice. just some of the distresses out there. So if you, on Park Road itself, there's probably a lot of transverse crackings that you've noticed. Those are just cracks that run the width of the road, or longitudinal cracks that run, the length of the road. And the granddaddy of them all is when they intersect and it just starts breaking up. That's basically pavement failure. So that happens out there, is evident out on Park Road right now. Another area that you have probably seen or aware of are the some of the patches that the township has done in the past that are showing their age. So as pavement ages and roads age, it takes a lot more to maintain them. It's more expensive for the township to maintain those roads. So this project that we are discussing will be locally let. The construction project, well, locally let, what does that mean? That means that the township itself will put out the construction package for contractors to bid on. It'll be, those bids will be opened and awarded by the township, and once construction happens and occurs, that contract will be paid, the contract will be paid through the township. So everything will be run at basically the most local level that it can be run. And township, I think, is on the hook for 50% of the.
Yeah, we have a 50% grant.
Yeah, 50% grant. So, 50% state, 50% local. Is that? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and that, as I mentioned, all those culverts that are out there now will be replaced in some manner. So if it's a storm sewer system, meaning that there's an inlet on the top of the ground where stormwater enters the storm system, that will be replaced. The big culvert that carries water on the outlet side from Lake Ripley, that will also be replaced. Basically, in kind, it'll be a little longer, sort of to match the adjacent ground from the road, and then I guess in the wetlands that are adjacent to that. So some of the things that are important to fix in terms of the culverts are those culverts are a lot of times either silted in or the ends are crushed down just from years of being hit, not by you, not by any of the snowplow drivers, but they just get hit. They just get old, and after a while, you see them crunched down and filled in, so they're not carrying the water that they can carry. We already discussed that it's a really narrow road. It says that it's 11 feet. I'm not convinced it's 11 feet, but it also, excuse me one second. So I'm not convinced that there's 2-foot shoulders or 11-foot lanes. I think it's probably 10-foot lanes and no shoulder, but we're going to be improving that and widening it just a little, basically to fit in that 50-foot right-of-way that we talked about prior. There's going to be some areas that you should be able to see on the larger display where that grading limit's going to go outside of the right-of-way, so we're going to probably be trying to secure limited easements on those properties, which will be some sort of fairly nominal amount of money in exchange for temporarily using the land to construct a slope or whatever it might be. So what is going to be happening out there when this road how are we going to improve it? So it's going to be pulverized and relayed, meaning that there's a giant machine, which you can not make out, but it's a giant machine that basically grinds up the existing asphalt. In this case, it's going to grind it up to a depth of 6 inches so that the existing asphalt pavement is going to be mixed in with the base that's beneath it up to a depth of 6 inches. Underneath that 6 inches, we're really not going to impact the road at all. So really, the bulk of the road core is going to stay. So it's not a very invasive type of construction procedure. The most invasive part of the project will be when we're digging in the pipes, and then some of the ditching on the side of the roads will. But the ditching itself is going to be not deep ditches. We're never going to have like a 1 foot deep ditch. It's going to really be a minimum type ditch, really to capture the water that's running off from the road and convey it down to either Lake Ripley or the stream that outlets from Lake Ripley. And then once that asphalt or the pulverizing takes place, that pulverized base will be graded, watered, compacted. It's going to be just that pulverization will create an incredibly hard base to build the new asphalt on top of. And that asphalt will be a 4-inch asphalt with 2 lifts, so we're going to end up with a very nice, smooth road as a result. So we talked a little bit about that existing, the existing width of the road and that 10-foot, the 10-foot lane, so basically a 20-foot mat on top. That is going to be widened to a 22 feet, so 2 11-foot lanes, plus 2 paved shoulders. So there's going to be a 26-foot mat, which would be a much wider asphalt mat, and then 2 feet outside of that with a rock shoulder. So it'll be a wider road. There'll be additional space for people that are walking on the road, biking on the road, and of course, cars and trucks that are on the road. So it'll be a much nicer facility, even though, I mean, the actual width is not going to be that much wider. The usable width of the road will be improved. So we talked a little bit about that ditch grading. There's going to be 2 sort of ditches that we're going to be constructing. One is sort of the conventional one that you see outside almost any rural road that's outside on County A here, where it's just, there's a 4-slope off the shoulder of the road, the ditch bottom, and then some sort of back slope that creates that ditch and will convey water. The second one that's a little unique just to this application and is typically not used because we normally have more space in terms of width, where there will be a curb and gutter, and behind the curb and gutter there's going to be a ditch, a small ditch, and that ditch will be used to capture the runoff, and it'll go into a storm sewer system. Very small storm sewer system, but a storm sewer system nonetheless. So there's going to be 2 different types of ditches. When you're kind of checking out the roll plot, if you have curb and gutter, you might have a ditch behind it, you might not. If you talk to Chloe or I, we'll be able to sort of clue you in as to what to expect in front of your house or any property that you might be interested in. So, as I mentioned, that pipe replacement, the construction of the cross culverts, the construction of the storm sewer is probably going to be the most invasive. That's going to be the highest impact time of the construction in terms of your being able to use the road. We're expecting at this point that the road is going to be closed to through traffic, but it'll always be open and accessible to people that are using it for local traffic. So if you need to get to your house, we're not going to, expect you to park at Cemetery Lane and walk to your house or something like that. You'll be able to access your house during the bulk of construction. The only time you would have some sort of detour, a larger impact to your normal travel pattern, is when we're putting in the cross pipes, the culverts, and the storm sewer. And those construction operations will be communicated to you probably from the project, either on signs that are on the project, like a portable changeable sign that'll just add some messaging to the locals what's going on. I would assume there will be some sort of communication from the township on their website, and also whatever project staff is out there overseeing the project will provide information, probably to a mailing list or some sort of mass communication to let people know when they are not going to be able to go from one end of the road to the other, to go from Highway 12 to Highway 18. So most of these pipes, I would assume it would be in a day. If not, that would be unexpected. I can't imagine a case where it would take longer than a day to put in any of these crossing pipes. So that's just something to keep in mind as we go forward. I think I got to most of this. Traffic during construction. Some of the impacts that are going to affect the outside of your house on the grading limits. So if you have a fence or landscaping that is close to the road, the chances of it being in the grading limits are pretty good. You can come and talk to us and we can look at that to see what exactly is going on. If it's something that we can maybe design around, that's a conversation to have. This is a great place to have that conversation. So do it now instead of, in June. So we can discuss those things. Your driveways will be replaced in kind. So if you have a concrete driveway now, you'll have a concrete driveway at the end of the project. You have base aggregate or aggregate gravel driveway, you'll have a gravel driveway. Same with HMA. So the profile of the road is going to be raised about 4 inches. So it's not going to work with, especially the concrete driveways, which there's a couple out there that are brand new that are going to be cut back a little bit and replaced with concrete. Or if you choose, we can, just put in asphalt and make it work that way. But something that we should discuss now instead of later. Mailboxes and fire numbers. So each of you probably has a mailbox that's on the road. Moving that outside of the construction limits, outside of the slope intercept, so that the mailman can still bring your packages, is the responsibility of the homeowner. There's a whole bunch of reasons to not have other people mess with your mailbox. So just the simplest way to keep that mailbox functioning and out of the way of the construction is for you to move it to a place that's basically safe from construction. So that will be something that you can discuss with the contractor, with the engineer, as construction gets going. Like, where should I put this mailbox? When construction happens, it's not like it just happens lickety-split. There'll be plenty of lead time in terms of the staking and things that happen before any dirt is moved or any saw cuts are made or any pulverizing really happens. So you'll have that opportunity, but also make sure you have that discussion when construction kicks off. Fire numbers, same thing. So I'm sure you all purchased a fire number at some point from the township. That on a sign, we'd ask that to move those back, and so that it's outside the construction limits also. There are going to be impacts to trees, so some trees are going to be removed. Everyone I've talked to has been supportive of the tree removal because there's the power lines that are they've been trimmed around. So, but if you have a question about a tree or bush or whatever, it's probably going to be marked on that display. And if not, we have the plan set here, which shows a much smaller scale, so just better detail about what you might have questions about. So be sure to ask Chloe or I, and we can walk you through it. What's next? I believe I've talked about every one of these things already. Ditch grading, pulverizing, relaying. Because the project is close to through traffic, there's not going to be a signed detour. There's not going to be an official detour route, which is probably the best way to handle traffic. So I'm fairly confident in that decision. Little vocabulary. So on the rollout plot, there might be some terms that you're not 100% familiar with. Slope intercept basically that's where the new slope, the new construction of the road will meet the existing ground. So basically the grading limits, the impact limits of the project. And most of the, I think they're labeled on there, but if you have a question about, hey, what color line is this, what does that line mean, ask and we will be able to answer it. The TLE, the temporary limited easement, those are all shown on the plan. None of that is official just yet, so, but the chances of us needing to do something with that TLE space is, avoiding that TLE would be difficult. But we can definitely, again, talk about that. Clearing and grubbing. Clearing and grubbing, just another way to describe cutting down a tree and removing its root system. Curb and gutter. Hope we all know what curb and gutter on adjacent to the road is. If not, we can find some pictures. And inlets are just part of the storm sewer system. I don't think they show up on there, but the ones that we're going to use on this project are maybe a little unique in the fact that they're behind the curb and gutter, not in the curb and gutter. So there'll be a gentle walkable slope down to those to the actual inlet, the grate, the metal grate that allows stormwater in. The current project, that schedule. We should have final plans. We will really begin in earnest after this meeting to take into account anything that we learn here. Hopefully have those final plans into the township by November. They can go through and provide comments back and get that advertised to the contractor so the contractor can bid on the project. Have that bid opening in December. The reason we do that is hopefully we get good prices on things like asphalt and pipes and all the things that go into a project. Utility relocations. The utility relocation, we're not sure about where those are going to, I mean, most of them are going to be, well, they'll all be within the road, within the right of way, more than likely. A lot of them probably won't have any impacts, but the ones that are moving are going to move in spring before the project gets started. So, and then construction, June to September is when we can expect it. We'll probably do something in terms of like a completion date where they have 60 days of working days to complete the contract. So I think that's everything that I have. But, let me just check the last slide and make sure I did cover it all. Yep. So Nathan Lipinski, Chloe Deal, if you have any questions, you can ask them now. You can approach is there any questions now?
Yeah, I have a question. I have professional expertise in environmental impacts.
Okay.
All types of highways, all levels of government, with an engineering firm, with contracts similar. And I know that right now, and also I've done land surveying all along there, so I've got boots on the ground. Right now, most of the stormwater is running off to the sides and infiltrating. I'm concerned about stormwater runoff affecting the outlet stream from Lake Wrigley. Curb and gutter, of course, is going to direct the water somewhere, and I think it would be, there'll be a lot of eyes on this project, as you probably know, in that regard. So I know it's too early in the project to give any specifics on it, but I just want to raise it as a high-level concern.
Okay.
Stormwater runoff that does not get into the outlet stream.
Are you talking about during construction or after the project is complete?
All of the above.
Okay. Yeah. So during the project is when we will have the best ability to control what gets into the water in terms of sediment, debris. All the storm sewer systems are going to be designed with a sump system in there, so that will be the best time to sort of capture that sediment. The township maintains those by vacuuming it out, removing that sediment. So I think that would be, I guess, my quick answer to that particular concern, especially with the curb and gutter, as you're right, it will get there faster. The advantage to that, though, is that that water, in most cases, the sediment would be, from the road. So it should be reduced instead of running down a ditch. So we might be able to control that a little better. The pipes will be fairly flat, so the velocity at the end of that pipe would be should be lower. So, but definitely a good comment.
I have no drainage on my property. Will it be improved?
Potentially. The goal is to have it improved, absolutely. You should come and talk to me. We can figure out exactly what's going on. If there are areas here, though, that with the lake on one side of the road, there may not be an opportunity for a ditch where it would just continue to flow, sheet flow in the pattern that is there now. But we should find out what's going on with your property. We'll be able to figure that out quickly. So, yep.
Are your plans gonna be online?
Ooh, I do not know. They are right here in hard copy. Glorious paper, so. But they could be online. I don't know.
Is that
I-
just one copy there?
Yeah, there's just one copy, yep. We could leave it here. There's always, I guess, the reason that they're not available all the time online, or, in advance, is just bidding stuff, So once it's advertised, then it should be available. But at that point, you have an advertised plan. But you should be able to still see it, and, if there's something that you have a question on or comment on.
Just to follow up,
Yep.
the sumps that you mentioned, are the vaults that are gonna be in the road to collect stormwater and delay it?
Yep, so those, the inlets themselves, none of them are gonna be in the road proper. They will all be outside the curb and gutter.
Do you have those on your plans already?
Yep, sure do, yep.
How do we acquire a set of those plans? Do we just call you and order one?
Yeah, that'd be the best. I mean, so there's a couple ways. If you want an electronic copy, it's really very easy. But yeah, paper copy might be a little harder because it's 100 pages of. Go ahead.
The existing road, as you're coming down from 12 to 18 past the park, has severe dips in it. And you said that the road is going to be kept pretty much the way it is.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I mean, these dips and unevenness are pretty bad.
So is this like the profile of the road itself will be, smoother. But I don't know if you're talking like a sight distance. I know there's some pretty severe severe crest curves where you might not be able to see an intersection. I think it's probably Blue Jay Way. Is that the first road?
These are dips in the road.
Okay.
They're coming down.
Those will be, if it's just a deficiency of the road or something as part of the road core, meaning the pavement structure, the base, or in the asphalt, a lot of that will be taken out during the pulverizing relay when they come back, grind it all up, and grade it out and compact it. That should be taken care of just in that process alone. And then that's like I mentioned the two lifts. That first lift, it used to be called the leveling course, where you basically took as much of that profile change out in that first lift, and the second lift would really smooth it out. So we'll have that as part of this project. So I would expect that would be addressed during the project. But the sight distance problem is well beyond the scope of what we're doing.
Another question is, I know Lake Ripley Road, the speed limit this point for the town was reduced, or is 25 miles an hour. If you make this straight road 30 miles an hour, brand new paved, wider road, it's gonna be the raceway between, it is already the raceway
It's already
between
a
it's gonna be 40 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour that people are gonna go. So I'd like to see the speed limit, the town consider at least a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. And also, as you're engineering, I think you should think about speed bumps. Something, well, I'm just giving you my opinion, living on the road full-time.
It's dangerous.
That's
I live on
something,
the road full-time too, and no speed bumps, please.
well, all right, I'm just giving you my opinion, that we need to do something to slow the speed down, whether it's better traffic enforcement, whatever it is, but that will become a very, prime roadway in our town that will not, it's not gonna be safe.
Yeah.
I have a note, and we'll talk about it.
And Google Maps needs to adjust the fact that Lake Ripley Park is not in the cemetery.
I will talk to Google.
There are so many people that come down that road and because it's telling them the park is in the cemetery all year round.
You get to see a lot of people that way.
Yeah,
Didn't want to, huh? Okay.
go ahead.
Was there a pedestrian, I didn't hear, was there?
Is there, a-
Just Kurt, so you're saying,
there's no pedestrian accommodation that you could rightly call a pedestrian accommodation. It's just it's just wider. Yep.
So when we did Ripley Road project, in that shoulder, we decided to pave it versus gravel.
Mhm.
And we could say, you know, it's just a little easier to walk on the pavement versus the gravel. Is that something you guys looked at? Is there any option to review that? Because otherwise, you know how gravel
Yep.
ends up everywhere.
Yep. There's probably an option to review it. So the way that the program works is that each project is classed under an improvement type. So this project is classed under a recondition type. So it's subject to the state statute. So Trans 204 will tell you what it should be. So typically, you would just is just what we follow in terms of.
And Ripley, we just decided to blacktop instead of gravel. Is it that simple, or the town could just?
The town, I think, I would imagine what would happen at that point is that the town would just be on the hook for extra asphalt. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure what would happen. I'm not sure if that can happen, bottom line. But we can, it's one of those things we can figure out, but.
I mean, I think that's a good thing to see if people wanted that. I mean, I don't.
There's a tremendous amount of biking traffic and walking traffic on that road.
Tremendous.
it's scary.
No, I was out there at some point, one of the doing traffic counts, some field review stuff, and it was a beautiful summer day, and there was people everywhere.
That's certainly gonna help us with the maintenance, because we're not gonna add gravel every year and,
Yeah,
it's a mess.
yeah.
So where do you plan on starting, or is it just the whole thing all at one time?
So it is more than likely the whole thing at one time. The only thing that we are sort of discussing right now is getting the section from Highway 12 to the park kind of done first, expediting that, and then the section from Highway 18 down to Ripley Road, so that people that use that, to go all the way around the lake to get to your house might be is a greater impact. So we want to be able to get that done quickly instead of it languishing with the rest of the project. So those are two things that we are going to do probably schedule-wise, just to get those ends done quicker. But then, between those 2 points, it'll probably just be opened up and all the construction take place at once type thing.
I'm sure we'll have some more discussions on Lake Ripley Park, and that's who I'm here to
Mhm.
talk about. Could you just give me an overview of this regarding, what are you gonna do with the drainage basins, the drainage, the slope, the trees, the power lines, things of that, and just give me an overview, because I'm sure we'll have some one-on-ones on that.
Yeah. So on the west, no, it's not the west end. Sort of beginning, sort of in the middle of the park, That's where the slope down to the lake becomes steeper. So as we're constructing our slope, it takes us longer to catch that slope. So that would be where we grade further into the park, right? Most of the power lines in there, I don't think are going to need to be relocated unless whoever the utility is says, man, this is a great time to move to the other side of the road or whatever. But probably just because the impact in terms of vertical and grading would allow them to stay where they are. There is a small pipe there that drains. Yeah, right. But it's right now it's a really small little pipe. It's going to be a bigger pipe once we're done. Not that we need a bigger pipe, but they just don't make pipes that small. So, and then there'll be an inlet on the other side that's behind the curb and gutter, as I described.
So there will be curb and gutter in that?
Not in front of the park on the west side of the road, but not right off the not right in front of the park. Not on the.
I'll call it a rain garden for bio detention basin on the west side?
Yeah, is that located where the pipe is outletting now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Will you be installing one
there? How we would typically treat it is with basically larger rocks. Is that what you're? Okay. Oh no, what we would typically use that method to slow down water coming out of that pipe, remove any sediment.
You're on the west side or the east side?
The riprap would be on the east side, would be in the park side. Yep.
Are you going to do any preventative measures on the west side where it flows in? Riprap?
No. So what will happen on that side of the road, on the west side of the road, on that inlet structure, there'll be that sump that I described, which will probably be a foot, 2 feet of just depth, where that sediment can, settle out there and then be maintained. While that's a good thing, there's also problems with having, water sitting there in terms of whatever, raccoons, breeding ground for mosquitoes. So I would imagine we'd probably keep it at about a foot in terms of that sump depth, sort of to balance.
There's an oak tree at that culvert, will that be coming out?
That oak tree at the culvert, the one that is split by the power lines, I think that one is definitely, that one's gone. Yep.
The other thing about the park traffic accessibility, it sounds like you're going to be starting at 12, coming up to the park. Is that going to be open to the public? Because you're going to have road closed signs or local traffic only. How are we going to manage that?
Oh, that's a good question. I think when we first started off, we'll have the road closed sign where we just, keep as many people off the road as we can, and hopefully the only people using are the people that, are driving to their home. Once that gets completed, we would move that road closed sign or the road closed to through traffic sign back to the park entrance area. And then there's on a project like this, there's a lot of ways we can just sign that. Either the foundation itself, the township could provide some signing like whatever, park open, Ripley Park open, access to Ripley Park. But I don't, that would have to be, I think you could also maintain access to that through, that whole time from the construction, from the beginning of construction to when that's completed. I don't think it would be, there's nothing there that would preclude us from having access to that park open. Yeah, go ahead.
What does the curb and gutter actually intended to do?
So the curb and gutter is intended to just kind of keep that grading limit sucked in as much as possible, so that, you know, we're not like a, you know, in some of these areas where there's just a tiny ditch right off the road now, that ditch will now be gone, replaced with a curb and gutter, and the drainage will be just handled by flowing over the face of the curb and gutter into the curb and gutter, and then following that curb and gutter down to the inlet.
Is that likely going to push more water to the east then?
We should not be pushing any more water to the east. We are not pushing any more water to the east. So whatever water is going to the east now will probably be less, because we're going to have a more effective ditch on the east side of the road running the length of Park Road.
A ditch on the east?
Yep, yeah. There'll either be ditch or curb and gutter. In some areas, there's ditch behind the curb and gutter. In some areas, it's just sort of matching into the slope and allowing water to drain over the face of the curb and gutter.
So most of the curb and gutters on the west side of the road, not on the east side of the road, or are there certain spots where curb and gutter are on the east side?
The majority is on the west side of the road, but there's still.
Like Cemetery Lane, that's gonna have a curb and gutter.
Cemetery Lane has it at the intersection itself. Yeah, so the radiuses around the intersection will have curb and gutter. Yeah. But as far as there's plenty on both sides of the road. So.
Could you just explain from 18 to Ripley Road on the west side, the ditch configuration, or what your plans are there?
So I just checked this out, and this on the east side of the road. On the east side of the road, there's not going to be a ditch in back of the curb and gutter. It'll be the top of the curb and gutter will be here, and it'll just be not a ditch. It'll be a slope up to the ground, and then it'll just flow over the
What
curb and
the
gutter.
west side?
The west side, I don't know. Hold on. Here you go. No. Oh, we're in the wrong deal. Oh, this is all. Yeah. Yeah, same thing. So on the east side, between Ripley Road and 18, it's the same configuration with that curb and gutter, where there's no curb and gutter behind it, or no ditch behind the curb and gutter. It's
Curb and gutter, but no,
no ditch,
slope.
just slope. Yep.
So then our ditch that's 30 inches deep goes away.
I don't know. Where are you? What?
We're on the west side.
On the west side,
There's
sort.
no shoulder and a deep ditch.
What's that?
There's no shoulder and a deep ditch. Yeah.
Well, here. How about this? How about you? Just give me your name, and I will look right on here.
It's Tree Loft, and we're on Grace Lane address.
Ooh.
North 4452, right across from it.
Okay. Well, I mean, if there's any other
General, yeah.
general questions, if it's about a specific property, I do not have it committed to memory.
I just have one quick thing. You said the dangerous intersection is not gonna change at all. I mean, the hill is not changed at all to make that.
Nope. No, the profile, that crest, the curve itself will remain.
Would it be something to consider putting a stop sign at that intersection of Blue Jay and just to slow down traffic?
Well, cemetery, Blue Jay,
My corner.
That girl has done a survey on the water that comes down Stogan and Blue Jay Way and into our yards, and we have no drainage.
She still won't have.
I think it's going to be better, but come up here, we can, I don't know exactly
I'll sit
what
up
area
there
you're talking
with
about.
a chair and make sure they do it.
I'm sure they'll appreciate your efforts.
The power lines are staying above ground.
Power lines virtually always stay above ground. They might not, but, what's that? Well, yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it's really, it's the utility's decision, how they run it. What?
Not touching the gas either?
The gas will probably remain where it is. There might be some places that we have a conflict just because of the ditching or storm sewer or something that would require them to either lower it or move it, laterally. But most of the time if they have that sort of conflict with something that's as flexible in terms of the vertical profile of it, they'll just sink it. They'll just shoot it down deeper, relocate it deeper. But some of those details we just don't know yet. Yeah.
You talk about grubbing and tree removal. Will there be plenty of time for you to be notified if that's going to be going on and which ones are going to be removed?
Yep. So,
Is that going to be in the beginning or?
no, it'll
Yeah,
probably,
road construction.
the I guess the best way that it will be handled is not by the contractor, but by local forces. So the township would remove those trees. So there's certain, one of the advantages to that is that we can get it done without the contractor being involved. So there's maybe just this cost savings there. Second of all, there's certain periods when we're not allowed to cut trees for bats and other nesting creatures. So when we do that earlier, in early spring, that's not to say that that's the way it's going to happen, but that would be my hope in terms of the tree removal.
Markings and everything like that?
So it'll be marked,
Survey.
yeah, marked, either painted, somehow flagged. Yep, yep, yep. And we'll try to get out there and get that marked as soon as possible. But if you have questions about it now, let's talk about it now instead of when there's a guy on a chainsaw.
Question about garbage pickup. Are they going to be allowed to?
Yep.
Okay.
So all the services will remain basically as they are. You might be asked to move where you leave the garbage for a period of time, just based on what's going on. Or you might just do it on your own, like, well, this is not going to work, or it's easier for me to get it here. But those services will all continue. And mail will also continue. Yep.
And I have a question too, when you get close to 18 there, it's not really following the road, from what I can, it looks like it's in farther.
Like this?
Yeah.
That,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
as you go to Ripley Road, it's like farther in to the, east side, thanks.
You're just talking about the right-of-way, that orange line.
Oh, but the road itself will be exactly on top of the existing road.
Yeah, the profile, the alignment, both horizontal and vertical, will be basically the same.
Okay.
The profile, like I said, the road's going to be just a little bit higher, 4 inches. So imperceptible too, but not moving east or west. No.
Okay. Are we good with general questions? Because I think that some of you probably want to get up here and, look at the little dots and numbers and letters and find out what they mean. So if so, we'll close the formal part of this hearing and let
Just want
you
to handle that. I'll handle the
wander
ones.
up and
Which would you be?
look at the map and ask your questions.